Hey everyone, welcome back to the latest GoSkills Excel Challenge solution. How close did you get to solving it?
Welcome back. Did you get a chance to take the product forecast challenge? If not, there's still time. Go ahead and pause this video before I reveal my solution. Remember, in this video, I'm going to walk through one way to solve it, but it's not the only way. So I want you to compare notes with what you came up with. All right, so let's start with question 1. Which product has the more reliable trend? Just eyeballing this chart, product A, that's the one in the blue line, it climbs steadily. Product B, in red, is choppier. It bounces around and it's not obvious just from looking at it whether that's a real trend or just noise. So instead of guessing, I'm going to use the linist function to actually measure it. So I start with my linist function, and my known y values are right here. I'm going to hit F4 to lock that range in, and my known x values are right here. And again, F4 to lock it in. Calculate that normally, so I use true here. And we do want the additional regression statistics, so that's another true here. We close on the linist function, and we get that dynamic output. Because we only want the r-squared value, I'm going to wrap the index function around that, where I want the third row. The third row of linist gives you r-squared, which is basically a score between 0 and 1 for how well a straight line explains your data. R-squared tells us how much confidence to put in our forecast. Closer to 1 means a strong, reliable trend, but closer to 0 means you're basically looking at noise. So we want the third row and the first column, and close parenthesis on our index function. And here is the reliability of the trend of product A. All right, so let's see if we can use the linist function for testing the reliability of product B. All right, so we need to change that range. So instead of column C, we want column D here. And here's where we run into a problem. Because we're running this formula directly on product B's raw data, we're getting a value error because product B has this missing month. And Linus does not tolerate a blank Y value paired with an X value. If you used forecast linear or trend, they would have skipped over gaps, but Linus will break. So my fix here is to build a helper column that fills that gap just for this calculation. I don't want to touch the real reported data. So let's use this formula. We want to say if there's a blank in this cell, then we want to use that forecast linear function where we use this number as our x value. And again, we have our known y values. We lock those in. And we have our known x values and lock those in. Close parenthesis on our forecast function. And we're saying if the cell in column D is blank, we'll estimate the value by calculating a forecast. If it's not blank, then we just return the value that is there. Okay, and we close parenthesis on our if function. And so as expected, we return the value that's here because it isn't blank. So now we copy to the remaining cells in this column, and now we have a value for this blank month. So what we'll need to do now is to run this linist function now not on column D, but on our helper column, column E. So I'm just changing the range here from D2 to E2 and from D13 to E13. And here's the payoff. Now we've run the Linus function on the gap-filled column. This is a number that's very close to the number 1. Product B comes back at around 0.35. That's pretty close to no trend at all. So even though product B's monthly revenue might look competitive if you just glanced at an average or you grabbed a few months, there's no dependable growth happening here. It's just noise. So this is an instance in which a regular average would not be useful or reliable. Next, the forecast. For this, the forecast linear and trend functions both work well, and importantly, they both would handle the missing month automatically without a helper column. So let's go ahead and use that forecast linear function to get the values for the 13th and 14th months. We use the number 13 here for the 13th month. Our known Y values are right here for product A. F4 to lock it in. The known X values are here, the month numbers, and close parenthesis. So this is the forecast for product A, 13th month. Let's do the 14th month. We can just drag this here, change this number to 14. All right, and we can repeat that process for product B. Except that we need to change the Y values. And we don't need to use the helper column because, like we mentioned, forecast linear ignores the blank values. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to column D for product B. And do the same here for the 14th month. All right. For question 3, we've already handled the missing month with the helper column, but it's good to properly label this so that anyone looking at our data in the future knows that some of these figures were estimated and not actual. So let's just call this the helper column for product B. And it asks here for the formula that handles the missing month. It really is going to be this formula. So I can just copy this here without that equal sign. To show what the formula is. And finally, question 4 that asks for the recommendation. If we put everything together, it's obvious that product A has a strong, reliable upward trend and a solid forecast for the next 2 months. Product B's trend is essentially unreliable, even though the raw numbers might look fine at first glance. My recommendation here would be to prioritize marketing investment in product A and treat product B's forecast with caution. Maybe we could even suggest giving it another quarter of data before making a final decision. And that's really the heart of this challenge. It's not just about knowing what functions to enter. It's about knowing what questions you're actually trying to answer, picking the right tool for the job, and basing your recommendations on reason and not just a gut feeling. If your approach looked different from mine, that's totally fine. As long as you can explain your reasoning, then you're doing exactly what a financial analyst needs to do. If you want to dig deeper into this, check out our Financial Modeling Techniques course. The link will be in the description. See you next time.
So there it is. Did you get the same results? Did you use the same approach? Or did you try something different? We'd like to know. Share your take on the challenge in the comments below or join us for more discussion in our Slack channel. Link in the description. Thanks for participating and make sure to subscribe to this channel to get an alert when the next challenge is released. We'll see you then.